On This Week in Iowa, Upmeyer is retiring, and we hear from the person who will take over for her. Then we talk 2020 with our analysts, starting with congressional races and then presidential politics. Later, meet Tom Steyer, the billionaire who is rising in the polls in the early states. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Iowa. I'm Sabrina Ahmed. Iowa House Republicans have elected their next Speaker of the House. Representative Pat Grassley is the Speaker-elect. He'll take over for Linda Upmeyer at the beginning of the next legislative session in January. Grassley represents House District 50 in Hardin, Butler, and Grundy counties. That includes Iowa Falls and Parkersburg. He's currently chair of the Appropriations Committee. Grassley spoke to our political team after the party elected him on his leadership style.
I've been as open as possible, whether it's with the media or with our caucus, and that's what I'd really like to bring. I told the caucus this today. I want to approach this process that we have a lot like I did with the budget. We will bring proposals because the leaders have to bring proposals to the caucus, but we need to hear what the caucus has for feedback for us and try to make sure that we're getting everyone on board.
Grassley again replaces Linda Upmeyer. Speaker Upmeyer is the first female Speaker of the Iowa House, but announced her resignation as Speaker last month. She steps down from her role in leadership this year, and then she'll retire from the legislature after her term is done to spend more time with her family. Iowa House Republicans have also filled other leadership positions in the House. Take a look at these two names. Representative Matt Winschitl was elected House Majority Leader. He was Speaker Pro Tem, and Representative John Wills has been elected as the next Speaker Pro Tem. Their positions, along with Pat Grassley's, formally begin the next legislative session in January. Meanwhile, the city of Urbandale held a rare primary election on Tuesday. It's an election required anytime there's twice the number of candidates running compared to the number of open seats. This year, 7 candidates ran for 3 open seats. City officials say it's a good sign for the city when so many people want to run for public office, hoping to serve their community.
I think it's a positive issue. If you look at all 7 of these individuals, in some way, shape, or form, they have participated in a public venue. We have 1 individual who has been a former school board member. We have 2 individuals who have been on various boards and commissions with the city council. 1 individual who has chaired the 4th of July committee.
We have the unofficial results from the city council election. A reminder, the top 6 from Tuesday's primary election will appear on the ballot in the general election this November. These 6 made the ballot. The candidate who did not make the cut is Lawrence McBurney. He received the lowest number of votes in the primary. We'll take a short break, but when we come back, I sit down with Jeff Link and Craig Robinson to get a balanced analysis of Iowa's congressional races and the presidential race so far.
She says her teenage daughter went from straight-A cheerleader to suspensions, smoking, and sexting.
I smoke weed, party, fights. I'm a teenager. What else am I going to do?
You said, I'm doing what normal teenagers do. Drugs at school, suspended 40 times. That's not normal.
But who's to blame for this bad behavior?
Well, here's a little cheat sheet for you. You can't quit being a mother.
All new Dr. Phil.
Monday at 4 on Local 5.
Crossroads Shooting Sports is Central Iowa's premier indoor shooting range. Our state-of-the-art retail shop is an authorized dealer that has everything you need for concealed carry, home defense, and personal protection with over 200 guns in stock. Crossroads Shooting Sports, where responsibility and skill meet.
Ensure your retirement is set up for success by watching Retiring Today with Lauren Merkel on Local 5 Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. You'll love to hear new ideas to help you get ready to retire. Retiring Today with Lauren Merkel.
Panera's new warm grain bowls are full of good, full of flavor, color, full of good. So you can be too. Oh my God. Try our new warm grain bowls today. Order now on Grubhub.
I know people love the dish remote. It's great. So why build in the Google Assistant? I mean, who really needs a TV remote that can turn the thermostat up?
Change temperature to 72.
The lights down.
Dim the lights.
And still access their DVR.
Play real.
Actually, some people could absolutely use a remote like that. The new Dish voice remote. Dish, tuned in to you.
Crossroads Shooting Sports is Central Iowa's premier indoor shooting range. We feature a state-of-the-art retail shop, including full-service conference and training facilities. Our certified staff takes your safety, security, and education seriously. Crossroads Shooting Sports, where responsibility and skill meet.
From the capital city, you're watching This Week in Iowa with Sabrina Ahmed, getting to the heart of what's happening in Iowa politics.
Welcome back, everyone. We are joined now by our Democratic and Republican strategists, Jeff Link at Link Strategies and Craig Robinson with the Iowa Republican. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so we're just going to talk politics for the next two segments, and I want to start off, there's so much to get to.
Yes.
Let's start off with the congressional races, and we'll just kind of go quadrant by quadrant and start in District 1, if we may. As we know, in District 1, incumbent is Abby Finkenauer, a Democrat. It's her first term.
Yep.
Then we have two Republicans, Thomas Hansen and Ashley Hinson, although Ashley Hinson, if it's fair to say, is likely the next nominee.
Agreed.
So
yes.
Anything that's really sticking out to you in that race? I feel like we're not hearing that much from Ashley Hinson.
It's funny when you live in Des Moines. I'm from that part of the state. News travels from Des Moines out, but not always back in.
Okay.
So it's hard. You have to kind of go there to see what's going on. I think what we can see is from Ashley's fundraising totals, she's clearly working hard.
Right.
And activists are excited about her. So at this stage of the campaign, I would say everything looks pretty good for her. I think this is a tough race, tough district. This is one of those swing congressional districts that voted Obama, then went Trump. So maybe the national flavor will impact this race a little bit, but Ashley is going to have to run a strong race, and so far she seems to be off to a good start.
Yeah, it seems like Hinson does have the financial advantage in that primary. I think Finkenauer has done a good job of really kind of staying on message. She's working hard. She continues to fight for the kind of blue-collar interests in that district, which run up and down that Mississippi River. And I just think she's a good fit for the district and will be hard to knock off.
Okay, now let's talk District 2, because Marionette Miller Meeks, a Republican senator, has just said that she wants the Republican nomination for this position. So let's, I mean, she's not being primaried, so.
No, there is a primary.
Oh, is there a primary?
Yes.
Who's the other Republican?
Bobby Schilling is a former
from
congressman from Illinois.
Yes.
Has lived in the district since 2017 and is running.
He liked Illinois so much he decided to move to Iowa.
I didn't mean to forget about him, but
this is
an interesting race.
This is a primary to watch.
Okay.
I mean, this is two really different Republicans running at each other, where you have Miller Meeks, who's kind of an establishment. This is her fourth go-around.
Fourth time's the charm.
Trying to win this race. And then you have Schilling, who is this newcomer, and so he has to fight to get known. But I think when he is met with people, people really like him. And so, and the conservative activists really like Bobby Schilling, probably much more than an establishment candidate like Miller Meeks. So this is a primary to watch. I think Schilling has an uphill battle on his hands because Miller Meeks she's run for 4 times in that area. She is well known, she's well established, and she's backed by, you know, Terry Branstad and all of that. But Schilling has done an interesting job of introducing himself to Iowa activists, and I think this is going to be competitive.
Now, to be fair to Miller Meeks, she's always run against Dave Loebsack, who's now retiring, so that kind of makes the Democratic field wide open, too.
It does, although we have former state senator and former lieutenant governor nominee Rita Hart is going to be the likely candidate for the Democrats, and I think either Schilling or Miller Meeks will run into a buzzsaw when they run into Rita Hart at the end of this primary. And she is a strong candidate. She has a career as an educator. She served in the state senate. She's from Clinton County. She lives on a farm. Her husband still actively farms. I think she is the ideal nominee for the Democrats.
Okay, I want to get to District 4, so let's get through District 3 quickly, because we know we have David Young, who is the Republican there, but we have Bill Schaefer, too, and then, of course, we have Democrat Cindy Axne. Real quick reaction to this race from both of you.
This is going to be a heavyweight fight between two basically members of Congress. I mean, it's David Young lost, but I think, you know, he ran a good race the last time. Look, the national presidential race is going to play here a little bit, and and we'll see if David can run stronger in this cycle than he did last.
Jeff, real quick.
Well, Axne is taking the full Grassley up a notch. She visits every county every month in her district, and that kind of hard work, I think, will pay off in this.
Okay, so let's talk District 4, because we have so many Republicans who are trying to unseat Steve King, but does that work to the disadvantage to the other Republicans? Because Steve King, anyone who wants to vote against Steve King is now diluted among all the rest of the Republicans?
Yeah, the math, I think the math gets a little tricky there, but I don't know if it'll matter at the end of the day. I think we all realize that Randy Feenstra is the viable challenger to Steve King. And look, he's got a lot of work to do to unseat King. This is the most conservative part of the state. But you know, here you got a congressman in King that doesn't raise money. He doesn't really campaign all that aggressively anymore. And so, and Feenstra is really working hard, raising a lot of money. And it'll be interesting to see when he starts doing paid advertisement, when he's up on TV and radio, can he move those numbers?
Jeff, did J.D. Scholten miss his chance when he lost against King last time?
No, I think J.D. Scholten is more popular today than he was 2 years ago at this point. He's better known. He's a better fundraiser. Steve King is going to win this primary because they are going to dilute the votes against him by spreading it out. King is smart enough to win a primary. That's how he got in. You know, originally he ended up winning at a convention, and he's going down in the general election.
But I think that the results from the last election matter here in this Republican primary, because what's different now is Republicans actually believe King may get beat if it's a head-to-head battle against Scholten.
Well, we will see, gentlemen. We'll talk presidential politics when we come back.
Iowa farmers work hard, and ag drives our economy. But right now, times are tough. That's why Cindy Axne stepping up for Iowa is so important. Like her work defending Iowa's biofuels industry, fighting to protect our rural hospitals, and helping Iowans of all stripes recover from devastating flooding. She's working across the aisle to get things done. Thanks, Cindy Axne, for fighting for Iowa's farmers.
Power up your devices with Extreme Internet. With speeds from 100 meg up to 1 gig, you'll get the most out of your tech. Switch today and save 56%. Stunning streaming video, unbeatable gaming, incredible in-home Wi-Fi. Want even more? Ask about deals on TV service with TiVo and take your home entertainment to the extreme. Switch to Extreme Internet 100 today for $34.99 a month for 1 year. Call 844-EXTREME2.
Whether you're hunting deer or hauling wood, Fleet Farm has everything you need for fall. Save this week on a doghouse hunting blind, $59.99. Mars Fun Size Candy, get 5 bags for $10. And get a $20 gift card when you spend $120 on Carhartt for the family. Plus, Toyland is now open with the biggest selection of toys around, from games and dolls to action figures and building sets. So hurry in today. Fleet Farm is built for every season. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
There's no doubt about it. Saving feels great. At Mid-American Energy, we love saving too. Saving the environment by supporting tree planting, which improves air quality. Saving money by investing in wind energy, which keeps rates low. And saving you energy by providing tips to help make your home more energy efficient. Which means you can take those savings and put your energy into having fun. Saving definitely feels great. So does being obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our conversation with our political analysts. So let's talk presidential politics now. Okay. The big elephant in the room, the impeachment inquiry into...
The impeachment elephant.
Yeah.
Yes.
How does that affect the Democratic side of the race, though?
Well, it's been interesting. You know, Trump has been on the attack for Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son for about a week or so. He is relentless in talking about Biden in the most negative terms that he can, and you would think that that would take a toll on Biden. But what's really happening, I think, is a lot of Democrats are saying, why is Trump so focused on Biden? Biden must be the candidate that Trump fears the most. And I actually think it's giving Biden a little wind in his sails when you wouldn't expect it.
I do think there's some risk that impeachment brings up is that it's such a hot topic that it's a distraction. And so what are you not talking about? What aren't you talking about that you are talking about impeachment? Right. And I get why this is on the minds of Democrats and activists and the candidates, but you still have to lay out your case of, you know, why you should be the President of the United States and what direction you're going to take this country. And so I think it's hard to weigh those two things. I thought, you know, back in 2012, Republicans were always just so distracted with Obama. Anything Obama did, they were outraged. It didn't matter if he, you know, helped an old lady across the street. They were outraged for some reason of it. I think we're seeing some of this on the Democrat side of the aisle now, where, and there's legitimate things to be upset about. I'm not saying that. But it can be so distracting that you forget to drive home a message of you know, hope and you know, the positive agenda that you have. You can leave that on the back burner.
Well, and if you think about it, 2 weeks ago, you know, we had the steak fry in the Iowa poll, and all the buzz was about Elizabeth Warren and her ascension to being the front runner. That conversation has stopped because all we're talking about is Trump and Biden.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now let's talk about Senator Bernie Sanders, though. He had a heart attack. He had a couple stents put into a blocked artery. He is going to go back on the campaign trail once he recovers a little bit more. But does this stop his ability to campaign? Does it hurt him? Do people look at him and go, gosh, he had a heart attack?
Well, I mean, first of all, just on a human level, I mean, he's had a terrible week. Obviously, he's had this health issue, and then his daughter-in-law passed away. I mean, it's just been an awful time for the Sanders family, and you gotta be thinking about them just on a human level. This is going to be a big difference in the campaign. He announced that it's going to change the nature of the campaign. He's going to travel less. He's going to do fewer events. Let's see how this shakes out. I don't think the Sanders supporters are going to be pushed away in any shape or form. And if anything else, I think they'll rally around Senator Sanders on this. But can he grow beyond what he's got today? That's the real question.
I think watching his fundraising totals, I mean, he had a really impressive fundraising quarter that they just closed out. I mean, he's the money leader. If that type of support continues, he should be able to prop up his campaign with more paid advertising and all of that. He's in an interesting race. I mean, Jeff's been around presidential candidates. I've been around him. This is a gauntlet. I mean, this is not easy. This is it's hard on the candidate, but it's hard on the family. And then you throw any sort of family dynamic or health issue on top of that, it gets really tough. I mean, I feel really bad for that whole family and that campaign, too. It's tough to go through.
I had so many more candidates I wanted to talk to you guys about, darn, but two really interesting topics. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll take a short break, but coming up next, billionaire Tom Steyer wants to be more than a billionaire. He wants to be president. Get to know him when we come back.
Your water softener needs salt. You buy it, lug it, pour it, over and over. Save salt and the hassle with a Culligan high-efficiency water softener, the world's best. Click or call Culligan Water and start saving today.
Wall Street banks took advantage of millions of Americans during the recession. So my wife, Kat, and I took action. We started a nonprofit community bank with a simple theory. Give people a fair deal and real economic power. Invest in the community, in businesses owned by women and people of color, in affordable housing. The difference between words and actions matters. That's a lesson politicians in Washington could use right now. I'm Tom Steyer, and I approve this message.
Best part about football? The highlights. So Dish gives you NFL Red Zone, no extra charge. That's every touchdown from every game Sunday afternoons.
Right here, hang on.
Because we know if you miss that action, you miss all this action. And that would be an awful shame.
Dish with NFL Red Zone at no extra charge. Tuned in to you.
Behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death.
This month on Grid.
We're not going to do anything foolish. I don't think I care for your insinuation. You're cruel and brutal. Does that give you the right to kill him?
Well, you're going to pull those pistols and whistle Dixie.
This month on Grid. Television with backbone.
Carrie Ann
Underwood's Cry Pretty Tour 360 is coming to Wells Fargo Arena October 26th. Upload your prettiest crying selfie to register to win 2 tickets or a grand prize 4-pack of tickets at weareiowa.com. Enter now.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. Tom Steyer is a billionaire from California who's never held elected office. He wants people to realize that he is self-made and still very in touch with everyday needs of Americans. He also says, while he's not technically a career politician, he's been in this world for years. Take a listen to my sit-down with Tom Steyer.
For the last 10 years, I've been organizing coalitions of American citizens to take on unchecked corporate power. And what that means is we've been running campaigns. I've been running campaigns at the ballot box to beat corporations on economic issues. So I took on the oil companies in 2010 when people said that no one could ever beat them. And we beat them. We beat them by going to the grassroots, by talking to people in the communities, by getting the unions behind us. And we took a completely different tack. And they were surprised, and we beat them. I took on the tobacco companies who'd won 17 times in a row. And I beat them. And in fact, we took the money and we gave it to Medi-Cal, which is the healthcare system for the lowest income Californians. I closed $1 billion corporate tax loophole in California and gave the money to rebuild the public schools. So when you say it's different, it's like actually, for the last 10 years, I've been running campaigns. It just hasn't been me. Right. And I also started an organization called Next Gen America, which has been in Iowa since the beginning of 2014. This is a grassroots organization basically organizing young people. So we're on 41, or Next Gen America is on 41 campuses in Iowa. We've been there since the beginning, since the last time Joni Ernst was running for the Senate. In 2018, Next Gen America was in 38 congressional districts around the country. In those districts, the turnout of young people, defined as people under 30, went from 18%, less than 1 in 5, to 41%, more than a double. Of those 38 districts, 33 of them went Democratic. That includes Abby Finkenauer and Cindy Axne in Iowa.
But do you feel like your message is resonating?
I don't think there's any question. There really isn't. I mean, if you look at the places where I've been, including on Iowa, people, it is resonating. I think that's what the polls say, that it is resonating, that in fact when people hear 80% of Americans, 4 out of 5 Americans, including me, think corporations have bought this government. They know that all the policies that people are talking about, which are super important, that getting a new, redoing the healthcare system, redoing the education system, a Green New Deal, a living wage for everyone. We're not getting that until we beat the corporations. It's like, it's not so much a question of what do we want, because we pretty much agree. The question is, how are we getting any of it? Look, I am someone who has delivered on what I've promised. I'm the person who's most aggressive about climate in this race. I'm the person who's saying, I'm the only person who will say, #1 priority climate. Just because it has to be. That's the facts. And I said I'd declare a state of emergency on day 1, and I would really go after it and use the emergency power of the presidency. Because people in Iowa know from this year, but people around the country know, there have been floods. Things are really happening. Americans can see from all the natural disasters. This is just the tip of the iceberg, if you'll excuse the expression in this case. But it really is. That, there's something going on here that we can arrest, that we have the technology to do it. This is a question of if we act on this, we'll be richer. People will be better employed. We'll have higher wages. We will be healthier. This is not jobs or the environment. This is jobs and the environment. We know that. I spent 10 years proving that's true. I know that's true, but I also know that we have to do it.
So what's the #1 issue, though, that you hear, obviously, when an Iowan walks up to you, and what's keeping them up in the middle of the night is not corporate wealth, it's...
No, I mean, what people are worried about is the issues that we can't get to until we break this corporate stranglehold. Look, healthcare is a huge issue. Honestly, for Democratic voters, climate is a huge issue. It's and for young voters, it's the #1 issue. #1 issue, because they know the implications of not acting on it. That's why we had a global climate strike yesterday, including 1,000 places in the United States. So I think But I think if you look deeper, the inequities of the education system are absolutely huge. And honestly, a living wage is a gigantic factor. Look, this will come down to economics. Sabrina, every election at some level is about economics for families. You know, what can they look forward to? What can they earn? What can they keep? What can they afford? And in that, I am the person who has decades of experience of understanding what makes a prosperous country, what makes a country that spreads that prosperity fairly, what makes a prosperous community and city and state, what makes a company work, and how does that fit in to the global economy. I spent decades working on that. But it also means that I'm the person who's best able to expose Mr. Trump on economics, to show that, in fact, he is a fraud and a failure as a business person, that he failed as a business person, and to show that as president, when it comes to economics and wages and jobs, he's also a fraud and a failure. That he hasn't succeeded, that he's going to run on the economy, but actually he has failed as a steward of the American economy and protect the American people and allow them to share fairly.
Now, Steyer will be one of 2 Democrats on the debate stage this next round who was not on the stage previously. The last 10 from the most recent debate, plus him and Tulsi Gabbard, will make 12 on the next stage. We'll be right back.